If you like Scotland's hidden gems, you're going to like this video about Clackmannanshire. It's Scotland's smallest region, and here are some of the things we're going to go see. Well, good morning. For a change, we're not starting one of these videos at the crack of dawn, which is quite nice. We're heading not very far away today. We're going into Clackmannanshire, Scotland's smallest region. But there is lots to see in this little place. First stop, we're going to Castle Campbell, which is probably the highlight, I would say. It's a really, really nice walk up a gorge. So, let's go. Tiny Clackmannanshire is squeezed between Fife, Stirling and Perthshire, taking about an hour from either Edinburgh or Glasgow. Those hills that you can see, that long ridge there, where all the storm clouds look to be gathering, perfect. Those are the Ochil Hills, and that is where we're headed. Castle Campbell is just up, nestled in there. Perfect. Can you see it there? Perched up high. This is actually one of the best times of year to come to Castle Campbell, because you can see it from lots of viewpoints that you wouldn't normally. There's no leaves in the trees. Only making friends. We're still at the very, very start of the wee hike. It's not long, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours round trip up to Castle Campbell, but it's amazing how quickly you get out into proper nature. Love the woods. So does Molly. Probably just because she can find sticks. The walk through Dollar Glen isn't long, but it's beautiful. Through the woods, beside babbling burns, but it does get a wee bit steep. Oops. Welcome to the never-ending steps. Every time you think you're at the top, oh look, there's more. Really regret wearing my jacket now. It's a balmy 6 degrees, and after that short hike I am biling, roasting. Whew. Molly's absolutely fine. All of a sudden, through the trees you get your first proper glimpse of the real reason we're here. Castle Campbell. Now I hope you can hear me properly through the wind, because I want to tell you a story. The story is about Castle Campbell. So it turns out that the wind was too bad after that point. You could only hear every third word I said. So, here's the rest of the story. There's a pool of water in the hills behind the castle, called the Maiden Well, said to be haunted by the spirit of a beautiful Pictish princess once held prisoner in an ancient fort long before Castle Campbell was built. She only appeared at night, and was so striking that all who laid eyes on her were captivated. Many even tried to carry her off home, but every single man was struck down where they stood. Edwin, son of a McCallum chief who once lived in the castle, announced at his 21st birthday feast that he would be the one to win over the maiden. When she appeared, he was stunned. She was so beautiful, he was lost for words, but it was only pain and anger in her eyes. As a feeling of dread came over Edwin, he panicked and tried reaching for his sword, but found he couldn't move. All he could do was watch as the maiden placed one hand on his shoulder and he collapsed into the well, slowly sinking to his doom. He learned the hard way to always keep your hands to yourself. Just in case this is your first time meeting Molly, she might act like a spring chicken sometimes, but she's actually 12, almost 13, actually 13 next month. And sometimes she does walk a little slow and get a little quiet, and then all you've got to do is say, Molly, Molly, ready to go? Ready to go? Let's go. Go on then. Right, Molly, up to the Windy Edge viewpoint. I'm not entirely sure what that is. It's been a long time since I've been here, but just when we get to go along the edge of the gorge, pretty impressive. This is the Windy Edge viewpoint, which, strangely enough, there's no wind in because it's completely closed in. This box cut gorge. See, the river has just carved its way through. Carved its way through this rock. I tell you what, on a hot day, would that not just be the perfect wee swimming pool? Look at it. Welcome to Castle Campbell. Open summer only. So I will be back to show you inside. But anyway, I like to show you around what I can at the moment. There's Molly just making herself at home. Well, the castle is very clearly locked up tight. Good old chain there, and I'm no good at picking locks. If you come round here, the old gun loops. Well, not much to see there. Molly, if you can find a way in, let me know. There's another gun loop around here. Well, this one's a bit more, not that I'm going to be able to crawl through, but I can. Whoa. There you go, there's your glimpse inside Castle Campbell. Well, Castle Campbell may be closed, but I can still tell you a little bit about its history from the outside. It was taken over by the Campbells in the middle of the 1400s, about 1465, and it was exactly what they were looking for. Their main power base was away out in the west coast, away out in Argyll, which was really no good for people as important as themselves. So they wanted someone in the lowlands, and this here, Castle Campbell, were really not that far away from Stirling. Follow a random path around the side of a castle. You could find secret entrance, riches beyond your wildest imagination. Sometimes you just find the bins, and a lot of times you just find a big old fence. Oh well. Worth a shot. Certainly Molly is breaking all the rules going past this red tape. Come here. Good girl. Come on. This way. This way. Right, through the gate. Come on. Through here. Expertly done. As much as I'd like to hang around Castle Campbell all day, we've been here quite a bit longer than I'd planned already. Time to get back down to the car so we can make it to another couple of castles before the sun goes down. This is actually a pretty good depiction of the castle. 1681, this map. I love old maps. And this is where we've been, and sadly this is a bit that's blocked off, so we're here. We're going to walk down here, then join back into this path and go down. Is this the most beautiful bench view in Scotland? I mean, there's going to be stiff competition, but it's got to be up there. Look at that. Made it back on the nice path off that horrible tarmac. Go on, Malt, stretch your legs. What goes up must come down, and we're now on the down section, which I don't know how it's going to go for my knees. Admittedly, this looks incredibly strange. Sitting out here almost like a World War II bunker. It's actually an old ice house. So, I'm assuming when the burn froze, you could chip big chunks of ice out, fill it up here so it was all nicely insulated, keep it cold, and just pick bits off. I'm raging. I really wanted to reward myself with a pie and a coffee from Stephen's Bakery, but it's 12:30 and the kids are all out of dollar school and the queue is down the street. So, on to the next place instead. The best thing about visiting Scotland's smallest region is that nothing is ever very far away in Clackmannanshire. We're heading just 10 minutes along the road to the slightly unusual Menstrie Castle. It's definitely one of the more surprising places you'll find a castle in Scotland. In the middle of a housing estate. But that is actually the only reason it's here. Menstrie Castle was built in about 1560 and it was home to the Alexanders. In fact, it was home to Sir William Alexander, who had become the first Earl of Stirling from fairly humble beginnings, as humble as you can when you're born in a castle. And he's actually the one who, through his close relationship with King James VI, went down to England when he became King James I of England as well. And he was granted the lands of Nova Scotia. Well, he was granted the land that he then named Nova Scotia in honour of his home, New Scotland, even though a lot of it was then lost to the French. Anyway, he moved on into Stirling itself, and then the castle was kind of passed from person to person, but didn't really last for much longer. By the middle of the 1800s it was pretty much ruined. By 1950 it was considered being knocked down, but fortunately there was a local campaign to save it, and part of the reason it was saved is because all of these turned into flats along with all of this housing. Now you can actually stay here. This is one of the castles in Scotland that you can stay in, which I want to do a blog post on soon. So if you're interested, very nice place run by very nice people. Menstrie Castle Stay. There you are. 4-star self-catering. 2 flats, I think. It's an amazing wee place, Menstrie Castle. It's just such a... it's an oddity. An oddity in the best kind of way. But anyway, let's move on. All of the castles in the Tower Trail in Clackmannanshire are very different. So, more to see. And I still need to get my pie. This wee beauty, this tower house, is Sauchie Tower, and it is easily the least, well, visited is maybe the wrong word, out of the castles in the Tower Trail in Clackmannanshire. In fact, I once saw a 1-star TripAdvisor review saying it was nothing, it was just a pile of rocks. What's the point? There's the story behind every pile of rocks, Mr. 1-star. The castle was built in the early 1400s. By the 1500s, they already had a courtyard of buildings around it. So this gives you an idea of what it would have looked like here. This is the tower, there's the front door under there. So all around here would have been just a big courtyard of buildings. Sauchie was home to the Shaw family. And there was a very important Shaw who actually was the man who barred the gate, Stirling Castle, and stopped James III from going in to collect his son, the Prince James, the one who would go on to be James IV, for leading a small rebellion against him. He's also master of the King's wine cellar. Probably the best job going in late medieval Scotland. Now yes, Sauchie isn't the most beautiful castle in the world. It's not in the best of condition. There is a group that, well, last I heard they were wanting to do something about it, but you imagine a lot of stones there, the vast majority of those stones in that castle were put there about 600 years ago. Some of them are probably the last hands that ever touched them, and in my eyes that still makes it pretty epic. Short drive now to Alloa, for the fourth in the Clackmannan Tower Trail, and in probably the best condition of them all.
Here we are, very large, very grand Alloa Tower, said to be the largest keep in Scotland. Doesn't look very impressive from this angle, it's much bigger round the other way. This is the thin side. Being so close to Stirling, Alloa Tower had a fair few royal visitors. Mary Queen of Scots famously stayed here. In one account she actually took a boat from Newhaven, accompanied by nobody but her ladies in waiting. While she was here. Oh, they're alright. My head's a bit cold, I could do with your hat. Just making pals. As I was saying, Mary Queen of Scots, it said that her husband Darnley visited her here, but things obviously weren't going very well because all it says is that she told him to go away. That's a real window. That is not. Assuming it's exactly like this, just people really like symmetry, don't they? Well, eventually living in big bulky tower houses wasn't the fashion, so Alloa Tower became just one part of a larger complex, and you can see the lines where the old roofs were, and these are all holes for floor joists. And also, there's a very good chance that this was the original front door. I don't know that for sure, I haven't actually researched it, but very often in tower houses from the 1300s like this, you don't want your door just being on the ground floor because anybody can just break in. So you put it up there, you put a ladder up, job's a good one. The old lady's getting a bit restless. What do you think, Moll? You live in a big tower house like this? It's currently run by the National Trust for Scotland, so you can get inside, just not in February it is now, 1st of February. So unfortunately I'm going to have to come back and show you the inside another time, which I promised to do. You can't come. Sorry.
It might not look like it, but Alloa Tower is cursed. In the 16th century, John Erskine decided to dismantle nearby Cambus Kenneth Abbey and use the stone for a new house in Stirling. The last abbot wasn't best pleased, and he placed a devastating curse on Erskine's family for desecrating such a holy place. His children would have no honour. His estate would fall to strangers, and his descendants would watch their home burn. It proved to be an incredibly accurate curse, with the Erskine estates forfeited after the 1715 Jacobite Rising and a fire in the 1800s burning down everything apart from the original tower. Last but by no means least, it's time to head to Clackmannan, the town that gives its name to this tiny region. And don't forget, I'm still on a hunt for a pie, and I know just the place.
And I finally got my pie from great way local pie place, Tony's Bakery. Highly recommend. If you're ever here, go to Tony's. Hopefully you can hear me, it's a bit noisy with traffic and the wind, but right here in the middle of Clackmannan we've got three things that are really interesting. First, this is the old market cross. It said Clackmannan was a borough. And down the base there you see it's worn away a little bit thinner. Oh, can't finger my finger. Worn away a bit thinner there. That is supposed to be because of the chains. There's people that were chained up there, ready to face justice, rubbing up and down. And right next to it is the toll booth, or the belfry of the old toll booth. And that was built in the late 1500s because the William Menteith, who was the local sheriff, was sick of having to house prisoners in his own home. But better than all of those, this strange looking big stone, which is a good 10-12 foot high, is the actual stone that gives name to Clackmannan. This is the Clack of Mannan, and a clack is a Gaelic word for a stone, and nobody really knows exactly what it means or why it's called that. Now the Clackmannan is actually only the very top part, the sort of bulbous bit. The rest of it was just put on this plinth in the 1800s. Now there's A couple of stories. One, that the Clackmannan is a sea god, an Irish Gaelic sea god, and because Clackmannan was at one point right on the shore, on the River Forth, could be that. The other is that Manow is the name of a Celtic tribe who was here around about the time the Romans arrived, so a couple of thousand years ago, give or take. And this was their stone, sacred in some way. Hard to say.
Time to head up the hill to our final castle of the day, Clackmannan Tower. It's not in the best condition today. That's because coal was discovered here, and they literally undermined the tower. By the middle of the 1900s, the subsidence was so bad that Clackmannan Tower collapsed. Historic Scotland have done a pretty good job of patching things up, although I've always thought it had a kind of tilt to the left. I'll rename it the Leaning Tower of Clackmannan.
Well, we made it to our final stop of the day. This is Clackmannan Tower, and I'm currently sheltering behind a little wall because the wind has really picked up, and Clackmannan Tower sits right on top of a hill known as the King's Seat. And it's an important name. It's called the King's Seat, we think, because there would have been a royal hunting lodge here at one point, used by King David II. That's Robert the Bruce's son. Now, David, in the middle of the 1300s, gave whatever was here already at Clackmannan to his cousin, maybe not quite his cousin, but some relative known as also Robert Bruce. And he's the one that probably built the first tower here. One of my favourite stories about Clackmannan Tower is that one of the last people, actually may have been the very last person to live here, was Lady Catherine Bruce in the late 1700s. Now, she had a sword, it said, that was owned by her ancestor, King Robert the Bruce, and so she would hold these lavish parties at Clackmannan Tower, and there she would ceremoniously knight people that she felt worthy, because she said she had a better right to make somebody a knight than anybody down in London. And one of those people was Robert Burns, the poet. In 1787 he attended one of Lady Catherine's banquets, big celebrations, and there he was knighted. So we should start calling him Sir Robert Burns. You can see how windy it is because Molly's about to lose her ears to the wind. Look, she's got flying lugs. You ready? We going? Let's go. Well, we've done it. We've been around Clackmannan Tower Trail, around Scotland's smallest region. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could like it, subscribe to the channel, share it with your pals, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Until the next time, from me and Molly, Sláinte.